The abandoned school. It was the kind of summer night that made everything feel possible, even the stupid stuff. We were four bored guys from North Jersey, chasing adrenaline the way some people chase sunsets. Urban exploring, we called it. But that night, it turned into something else. There was me, Yuri, Frank, and Freddie, the usual crew. We'd seen photos of this abandoned middle school online. Graffiti all over the walls, classrooms falling apart, rumors of weird symbols in the basement. We figured it was perfect. Yuri drove, his old Honda Civic coughing as we turned off the main road and coasted toward a rusted perimeter fence. Someone had already cut a hole through it, like an invitation we were dumb enough to accept. The place was massive. In the moonlight it looked like a concrete skeleton, hallways stretching into darkness, shattered windows, the faint whistle of wine through exposed beams. Frank grinned, tossing his spray cans into a backpack. "Let's make it quick," he said. "Tag the gym, shoot some fireworks off the roof, bounce before the cops show." That was always the plan. But plans don't mean much when the dark starts watching back. Inside, our flashlights cut through the dust. Every beam looked like a frozen ghost in the air. The floor creaked, the air smelled like rot and wet paper. You know that feeling when you walk into a place that shouldn't exist anymore, that wrong kind of quiet? That's what it felt like. The graffiti covered almost everything. Tags, gang signs, names of kids who probably never made it out of their hometowns. And then, deeper in, we found it, a pentagram painted on the basement floor. Fresh. Still wet in places. Freddie laughed nervously. "Classic teenagers," he said. But no one else laughed. The temperature in that room felt colder. We left fast. Upstairs, Frank and I started painting over a clean white wall, perfect canvas. Yuri and Freddie split off to find the roof access. For a few minutes it was normal. Just the sound of paint hissing, the echo of our own laughter. Then Frank stopped. "Dude, where's my bag?" It had been right next to him. Gone. We thought Freddie was pulling one of his pranks again. But when we checked the hallway, he wasn't there. Neither was Yuri. That's when I saw it, another pentagram, this time painted on a wall in a side classroom. Still dripping. And in the corner, Frank's bag. He grabbed it, swearing under his breath. "I swear to God, if that idiot's trying to freak us out." We didn't finish the thought. Because suddenly, footsteps thundered down the hallway, fast. Yuri and Freddie came running toward us, eyes wide, gasping for air. "Run!" Yuri yelled. We didn't ask why. We just ran. The halls blurred, peeling posters, broken lockers, our flashlight beams bouncing off walls. Behind us, we could hear more footsteps. Not ours. Not echoing. Following. When we finally stopped to catch our breath, the whole building felt alive, every noise too close, every shadow too long. Freddie managed to gasp. "There are people in here. 3 of them, cloaked, sitting in a circle." We stared at him, speechless. He wasn't joking. Then, from the hallway behind us, a hissing sound. Not a cat, not steam, a deliberate, human hiss. And then a deep voice from the dark. "I should have cut you when I had the chance." We didn't think. We didn't breathe. We just ran for our lives. Out the same door we came through the hole in the fence, back to Yuri's car. We didn't stop until the school was a blur in the rearview mirror. Frank's spray can rattled in his bag, the sound of metal shaking against metal. No one said a word. No one ever went back. The delivery intruder. It was late October, the kind of night where the wind seems to whisper things that aren't there. I had just moved out of the city, desperate for peace. My new place sat at the edge of a quiet rural town, hidden behind pine trees and a gravel road that disappeared into darkness. No traffic. No noise. No people. Exactly what I thought I wanted. That night I got home from work a little before 10. The day had drained every ounce of energy from me. I kicked off my boots, ordered Chinese food, and collapsed on the couch. Out here, delivery was a gamble. No apps, no guarantees, just old-school phone calls and long waits. So when the doorbell rang barely 20 minutes later, I was honestly impressed. I grabbed my wallet and headed for the door. Through the peephole, I saw a man. Hoodie, jeans, hands tucked in his pockets. But no food bag. No receipt. No logo. Something in me hesitated, but exhaustion dulled my instincts. I cracked the door open, keeping the chain on. "You with the delivery?" I asked. He paused. Then nodded slowly. "Yeah. Just wanted to double-check the address. Food's in my car." His voice was off. Flat. Careful. Like he was reciting a line he hadn't memorized right. Something snapped me out of it. "If you don't have the food," I said, "I'm calling the cops." He didn't answer, just muttered something I couldn't make out, then turned and walked down the driveway. No car lights. No sound of a vehicle starting. Just silence. That silence felt heavier than anything. I shut the door, locked every bolt, and called the restaurant. When the manager picked up, I asked if my order had gone out. He said, "It hasn't even left yet." My stomach turned to ice. I hung up and immediately called the non-emergency police line. The dispatcher took down the details, said they'd have patrols sweep the area. "Stay alert," she told me. So I did. When the real delivery driver showed up 20 minutes later, he looked confused when I paid in cash with shaking hands. "Everything okay?" he asked. I just nodded. By 11:30, I was finally starting to unwind. TV on low, lights dimmed, leftovers half-eaten. I told myself I'd imagined the whole thing. Then came the sound. A faint scraping, from the back of the house. I muted the TV and listened. There it was again, metal against wood. Slow. Careful. Persistent. I turned toward the kitchen, every instinct screaming. The doorknob jiggled. Someone was testing it. I grabbed my phone, dialed 911 with trembling hands. "Someone's trying to get in," I whispered. The operator's voice was calm, too calm. She told me to get somewhere safe, stay quiet. I locked myself in the bedroom and waited. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like footsteps. Every shadow felt alive. 15 minutes crawled by before I heard the knock, this time at the front door. "Police!" I bolted out, nearly collapsing with relief. 2 officers swept the property with flashlights, scanning every inch. Nothing. Whoever it was, they were gone. But one of the officers crouched by the back door and called me over. There were fresh prime marks in the frame, thin metal scratches right under the lock. "Flathead screwdriver," he said. "Someone tried to wedge it open." I gave my statement. They said they'd increase patrols, but I could tell it wasn't a priority. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep the next one either. 3 nights later, I woke to distant sirens, flashing red and blue cutting through the trees. I told myself it was unrelated, rolled over, and tried to rest. Then, another knock. When I checked the peephole, 2 officers stood there again. One of them showed me a photo on his phone. "Do you recognize this man?" It was him. The fake delivery driver. "He was caught trying to break into another house 2 streets over," the officer said. "He won't be bothering anyone again." I nodded, but my heart didn't calm down. Because when I asked where exactly they caught him, the officer said quietly, "Parked in the woods, less than 100 yards from your property." That's when I realized he hadn't been looking for random houses. He'd been watching mine. The bar incident. My name's Catherine. I'm 24 and in my 2nd year of law school at NYU. By now, I've gotten pretty good at keeping my life organized, classes, deadlines, endless caffeine. But last summer, I promised myself I'd take a break. Go out more. Actually feel alive again. That night, I went out with my friend Jackie to a bar 2 towns over, the kind of place that's too loud, too crowded, but feels safe because everyone looks your age. We were dressed up, ready to forget that our lives revolved around textbooks and legal briefs. That's where we met them, 2 guys who introduced themselves as Sebastian and Luke. They were clean-cut, confident, not creepy. The kind of guys you don't immediately feel the need to escape from. Jackie hit it off with Luke right away. I ended up talking to Sebastian. He was charming in that rehearsed way, easy smile, quick compliments, practiced eye contact. We talked for a while, long enough that I almost forgot we just met. When Jackie said she needed to use the restroom, I followed. Before we left, Sebastian offered to buy drinks. 2 rum and cokes, I told him. In the bathroom, Jackie confessed she was thinking about leaving with Luke. That alone surprised me. She's not the spontaneous type. I didn't judge, I just nodded. We'd both had a few drinks, and it was summer. Everything felt lighter. When we came back, something about the guys had changed. They weren't laughing anymore. They stood there stiff, whispering to each other, eyes darting between us. Then, when they saw us approaching, they snapped back into their easy smiles, sliding 2 drinks across the table. 4 glasses sat there now, 2 rum and cokes, and 2 bright yellow, slushy-looking drinks. "What are those?" I asked. "Pina coladas," Sebastian said casually. The words felt too smooth. Like he'd practiced them. So I smiled, leaned forward, and said, I think these are too girly for you guys. You should drink these instead." Before either of them could react, I switched the drinks, gave them the rum and cokes, and slid the yellow ones in front of Jackie and me. Sebastian stared at me for a second, expression frozen. Then he smirked. "Touché," he said, raising his glass. We all drank. The next 20 minutes were normal, talking, laughing, Luke trying to impress Jackie with stories that probably weren't true. When the bar closed, he suggested we go back to his place. Jackie looked at me, almost asking for permission. I shrugged. Sure. We Ubered there, a small, plain apartment on the 2nd floor of a quiet complex. Inside, it was spotless but strange, no pictures, no decor, like it wasn't really lived in. Luke put on music and handed us more drinks. At first, everything seemed fine. Then, slowly, the mood shifted again. Sebastian and Luke started slurring their words. Then their movements slowed. Within minutes, both of them were swaying, eyes unfocused. And then, they just dropped. Passed out cold on the couch, side by side. Jackie screamed, but I grabbed her wrist and pulled her back. "Quiet!" I whispered. "You remember when I switched the drinks?" Her face went pale. "They drugged them," I said. "And we just made them drink their own poison." We stood there in silence, staring at their unconscious bodies. The only sound was the hum of the fridge, and the faint music still playing from the TV. Jackie started to panic. She wanted to search the apartment, find proof, call the police. But what would we even say? That we outsmarted 2 guys who tried to drug us? We had no evidence. I finally convinced her to leave. We walked out into the cool night air, the street quiet and empty. In the Uber, neither of us spoke. My mind replayed every detail, their whispers, the extra drinks, the way Sebastian froze when I swapped the glasses. It wasn't luck. It was instinct. A few days later, I told Jackie to block their numbers and forget it. But sometimes, when I can't sleep, I think about what might have happened if I hadn't said that one line. If I hadn't joked about the girly drinks. Maybe it saved our lives. Or maybe somewhere out there, they're still doing it. Just waiting for another pair of girls who won't notice which drink ends up in front of them.